So I finally finished the install of my snorkels. I started one last year for the air filter, and I did the CVT just this last week, and I pretty much copied what I did there over here. I went with what NMK did, and I got 2 canisters, air filters off of Amazon. They were about 35 bucks a piece. They came with a lot of parts that I never used. And then I just used PVC throughout the whole thing. Did this one first. As you can see, it's just a short 90 into the canister. I had to put a little adapter between the inside of this and that little collar there. This one's pretty much stock. I took out the filter that came with it. You have to cut it out. And I put a regular filter like we use down below. I put the same thing in there. It's not the paper filter. It's the one that NMK recommends. I put it there. I also have it down below in the filter. Then I just have a little piece of 3-inch PVC down to a couple of 30s. That's so we can get the angle right as it goes through the bed. And this right here is just a street 90, which means it doesn't have a connection at the other end. It just fits into one of these. On the inside of that, it fits into a 3 really super short 90 into a 3-inch down to a 2-inch, because the one coming out of the air intake down below, and I'll show you that in a minute, is a 2-inch. But by doing this, it just means I don't have to open up that box as often. This one I was doing after every ride, and it was terribly dirty. It's a lot of work to do that. If you've done it, you already know that. So I do this one after every ride just because where I ride is really dusty. Down there, it's probably once every 4 or 5 rides. It probably lasts me a month or 2 maybe. The CVT was really simple, same kind of thing. There's your short 90. Put the little collar right in here underneath there on the inside. It's just a 3-inch PVC cut off flush at the edge, so it'll fit down over this little collar on the top. This is the actual air filter that came with this canister. I didn't change that, didn't think I needed to. It'll keep out enough dust. There's a little 3-inch PVC there, and on these, and you can't see it, but I just cut them a little bit. If you might be able to see that right there, I cut them in multiple places, so when this band tightens down, it actually closes down over this collar really nicely and gets a good tight seal. I also put electrician's tape multiple times around there to help keep the seal. Over here I had to go a little bit more extensive to make sure that that was all rubberized and no leaks through there, otherwise it would have defeated the purpose of that. This one comes down the same way, a couple of 30s. And then this one goes through the firewall this way, and that's the 90 right there, and it went in and then went this way because of the distance. You'll see that in just a moment. So here's what it looks like on the inside, and you're going to have to buy a whole bunch of these little plugs to put the body panels together, because invariably I've destroyed them when I pulled them off. I've used these pliers. I'm not really liking them, but I got them, and they're better than nothing. They grab really well, but then they end up ripping them up. Here's the CVT side. I just finished this. This used to exit right here in a body panel. This rubber boot came around and right up against and screwed right to the body panel. I took that and I cut that so that when the Street 90 came through, it went right into this. Notice the Street 90 doesn't have that fat connection collar. I did that so that it'll slip easily into this boot. You can see a lot of air here, but it's tight. And then on this tube right here, NMK has a really good picture of where to cut it. Just measure from here to here, and it ends right there. I cut it just enough to get this hose clamp on and to get the boot on, and I cut it because there's no reason to have it. There's the end of the Street 90. On the air intake, that's all original, and I just came out of the original that used to come in right up here into the cab. I just did a U-turn and went back up in there, and that's where it goes from a 2-inch to a 3-inch and then cuts right into the bed. So in order to work down there, I grabbed these tie downs and hooked them on the body panel and pulled them up. It kind of bends it, but you got to do it in order to get in there. I just put them up here so that it'd go over the frame all the way back down on the body panel. Gives you a lot of room in here to work around. I did the same thing over there, just put it up there, and I just hung it right up over here. In the process of making this, I just did a couple of things. I put this bracket in here. This came with the canister, So I just repurposed it for here, just to give it a little bit more stability. I tucked it underneath the roof so it didn't catch, and I got a longer bolt with a bigger flange to make sure that grommet underneath there really is secure and it works. I also made this little bracket out of some steel stock that I bought from Home Depot. You have to get a longer bolt. And remember, it's a 6mm bolt. I put a little locking nut down in there. I painted it just so it didn't look like just base steel. Get a longer bolt, tack it down in there. I torqued it pretty tight, even though all of this is plastic. You got to be careful you don't spin it in the plastic, but this is solid. It's not moving anywhere. So it's really a good connection. And then I did the same thing over here, just it's a little bit different shape because the way this came out, it was just a little bit different, but it's solid. But I did the same thing up here, just tuck that in there, got the nut there. And so other than that, man, this thing worked out great. I did not put an electric fan in here, but there's plenty of room. I can do that later if I ever want to modify that. I just haven't done it yet. My neighbors always freak out when I back my side-by up into the truck. But I've got these 17-inch wide ramps that I got from Titan Ramps. They're 17 inches wide. I think they're about 8 feet long, 8 or 9 feet long. And they fold in half. They slide right underneath the side-by-side. And I just strap them down so they don't slide back out on the travel. But I also got these tailgate supports because the front tires sit right on the tailgate. And I don't want all that weight to ever compromise the tailgate. So this is a great little setup and I really like it. So that's it. If you have any questions, give me a holler. I'll put as many links down below as I can.